On the last episode, I fitted the Actis Hybris insulation to the walls of my new shell loft dormer conversion. Now it's time to get the 140mm Actis out and cut it down to size. Once cut, I put it into the ceiling void, making sure that there is a 50mm gap above it for ventilation from the back of the loft to the front. Now that all the Actis Hybris insulation is done, it's now time to move on to the PIR insulation. I'm going to use these washers and screws to attach the PIR to the studs. Once done, I foil tape over all the seams again and also at the top and bottom where the insulation meets the floor and ceiling. I lastly tape over all the washers and screws to make it airtight. For the pieces that need cutting, I simply put up in place and mark off with a saw. I then place the piece on the floor and cut with a straight edge and Stanley knife. Much like when cutting plasterboard, I bend it back and then cut along the seam. This for me works perfectly and creates almost no mess. Now I can put it in place and attach to the studs as usual. Before I do the ceiling, I need to add a batten of wood behind the steel beam so I have something for the plasterboard to attach to, as I can't attach to steel, obviously. For the ceiling PIR, I use a plasterboard support rod. If you're doing this with two people, it would be okay, but I'm doing this on my own. I screw in the 50mm PIR into the joist and do the usual foil taping between seams and screw holes. On the sections where it needs to be cut precisely around windows, for example, I actually leave it longer and take a knife after and cut flush to the wood. I then foil tape all of the PIR edges. Now that's the insulation phase complete, next time I'll be adding a vapor barrier to the walls and ceiling to reduce the amount of moisture that would get into the insulation and timber structure.